Welcome to the Troubled Artists Podcast, Episode 11, Sarah Ford.
Welcome back to the Troubled Artists Podcast. Today I am here with fellow actress Sarah Ford. Sarah, you and I, we have done technically two projects together. We did one back in March of 2020, literally right before the whole world went into complete lockdown.
Collapsed. Yeah.
Collapse. Yeah, that's one way to put it. We did do another project. I did one for a directing class because we had to do one entirely on Zoom. And I remember I had messaged you about doing a song, and you were able to write a song for me in that film, and that did really well. Both those films I was really proud of, and especially like the second one I did. It was called Session 13. It went on to screen at DePaul's Film Festival and all that, and several other film festivals. So yeah,
Great.
I was very proud of those two projects that you were a part of. So yeah, thank you for being a part of that. And before we go into further, I do like to ask this question. Tell us in your own words, who is Sarah Ford?
Well, first, it was great being a part of those projects. Those were so much fun. Who is Sarah Ford? I think I'm just a creative person at heart. I think I grew up being really creative, living in my own world. And there have been times in my life where I've tried to come back down from the clouds and I find myself being pulled back up. But I'm an actor, a musician, singer, songwriter, and crafter as well. Just doing things that I have fun with. And then, grew up in Chicago, and now I'm living in the UK, which I have been for the past 5 years.
Nice. That is awesome. I was able to visit London a couple times, so it's a really, really great place. So it was really nice. You want to talk about just like how you got into acting to begin with? Like, was it something you found early on or later in life in college or something like that? Or just describe how you got into acting or the creative arts in the first place?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind is as a kid, I had access to tape recordings of like musicals. So Annie, the musical, was a big thing that influenced me as a kid. And I loved in my head just dreaming of being a performer, but it wasn't something I verbally spoke up about a lot. I was like a little secret I kept to myself. And it wasn't until high school when there was an audition for Shakespeare. It was A Midsummer Night's Dream. That was a play, which I think I did I think it was my freshman year of high school. And I got cast as a little fairy, as like part of the chorus in the background. So most of my time was spent hiding behind a box on stage. But I was having the time of my life, and I was like, this is great. And so since then, I just have kept performing, and then decided to pursue it for my undergrad at Illinois State.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, they usually get into the theater background when it comes to acting. For me, like, when I was wanting to be a filmmaker, I didn't really get into the whole like theater background, because I think I was more like I was a very shy person. So so I kind of did just kind of stick to myself, and I just like wrote a lot of stuff, or I did like drawings or stuff like that, because I feel like it's good to have like a bunch of other like creative outlets that are just good ways to express yourself. And I remember for me, like when I first discovered film, it was like this sort of like mind-blowing experience. Like, wow, I can do this like for the rest of my life and like have fun, and I mean, it is stressful, but at the same time, it's just something that I just enjoy doing. And I'm glad that you also enjoy acting, so it's really cool that we get to do that.
Mhm.
Do you want to describe like the positive things that you've discovered with acting? Like, what have been like just some of the highlights of your acting career?
Yeah, I mean, I think what draws me to performing and acting itself is this exploration of humanity. I feel like being able to play different characters allows me to explore all these different facets of life that I might not experience myself, or I have experienced, and it's like living through it a different way. Um, so that's like my favorite part about acting, and like also working with other people to create this story is really fun. And like for me, learning how to let go of control and like letting the story come out of me in a way. But yeah, I think I've had the most fun. I love doing both film and stage. I feel like they're both different processes, but both so fun. I find film a bit more technical, but it's like really cool and collaborative how all the different pieces come together, like the shots and the acting and also the directing and like sound and music and all that stuff is really cool. And then for stage, which I had more experience in because that's where I went to college for. Just being able to like perform in front of an audience, I think, is also a special experience, and kind of seeing how you can affect other people and what they take away from those shows are always my favorite parts of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. It's good to have like that both stage and film experience. It's just great ways to challenge yourself as an actor. What about like some of the like the struggles that you've kind of faced? Because, like I know like this acting career, it sounds glorious on like the outside, but of course there's a lot of struggles that kind of happen, within in the kind of in the background, So could you describe some of like the sort of challenges or struggles that you faced so far?
Definitely. I mean, the big thing I think is like um, being able to financially support yourself while pursuing acting. During my time in Chicago, it's like things aren't funded as much, so it's all coming out of like someone's pocket, so that you can't really make a living off of that. You're just kind of doing it for the love of the craft and gaining experience and stuff. So it's always trying to find that balance of finding work outside that you're hopefully happy to do while also pursuing what you love. I think that's been the big thing. I found that was part of the reason why I moved to the UK, was because in the UK there's more of a culture of finding work that you can live off of in a way. At least compared to the States, it is. But there's still those barriers of getting access to those roles and to those opportunities. And London is really expensive too. So it's like always trying to find the jobs that will let you also do acting and doing that. But I think for me, it's always just been about focusing more on making your own art and kind of doing what you can with that, with the resources that you have, and finding other people that you can collaborate with to make that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's always important. Collaboration and passion is really what drives us in that career. Because I've
Yeah.
had that conversation with other people on this podcast. Like I always tell them, collaborate with people, get support from either your acting friends or your family or your other friends or your professors if you went to college. And then also just like keep that passion going, because
Hmm.
that's really what drives you in the first place. Because, there's going to be tough days, there's going to be a lot of obstacles and stuff. Because, like I said, life happens and, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens. But if you are really passionate about something, you're going to find ways to get through
Hmm.
those obstacles and stuff and continue to do what you love. So I'm
Absolutely.
glad that you're doing that, and yeah, that's really cool. Um I want to talk about some of like the projects. I know like I mentioned like the two that we did, because I remember the first one I did, it was like we had to do like this sort of remake of like this scene from The Big Sick. And
Yeah.
I remember because it was like one of the very first projects that I did when I was working with like professional actors, So, and I just remember, because, like I said, this was like literally right when COVID was happening. I remember just kind of hearing things about it. And, I wasn't, I mean, all of us, we weren't really sure like how big this thing was, how it ultimately became. But,
Hmm.
I still wanted to get this project done. You and Adam, you guys were very helpful to just come to my house and we got this thing done. But yeah, but I know it's been like over 5 years. But you want to just describe like what your work experience was like on that project?
Yeah, I mean, I remember just having such a fun time. Like it felt very collaborative of like I just remember like you trying to work out all the shots in all the different places and how that was gonna look and work. And I just remember like hanging out and just being like, ready to go. It was very fun. I feel like I remember just like I remember our time in like the room and recording all those bits, and then there's the hallway bit and the kitchen bit. I just remember just being a good time. I feel like it was really fun, good vibes. It was a really, yeah, really, really fun experience. And I think the result of it was really nice too. It was cool to watch.
Yeah, yeah, both of you guys, you did such a great job, and again, I was
Thanks.
very thankful that you guys were able to come, and then like I said, like literally days later, just total lockdown. So we
Yeah.
we got it done like literally just in time. So
Yeah.
thank you
Oh
again for
yeah.
doing that. Um,
Definitely.
so what about for the next project that I did, session 13, like that sort of song that you wrote? Because I remember when I when I first showed it to like my parents, especially my dad, he really like enjoyed that film because like it was all done through computers, and he was always like curious because he wanted me to ask you about like that song that you wrote. Oh, you should talk to Sarah and tell her about that song, you know, and all that. But yeah, I was just curious, like, if you remember kind of recording that song, or just like what was like kind of your experience with that.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to. I remember recording the actual song. I'm trying to remember what the song was, but I think that it was a song that I had written while in college that I think when you were talking to me about the vibe of the song, I think it fit, and I may have changed a bit of it around. Yeah, I think that was like a song that was just like a reflection of like a low point that I was feeling that I needed to like get out, which fit really nicely, I think, with your work. I think because I remember you asked me for that, and I don't remember if I knew the context of the rest of the project. So I remember watching it and being like, "Oh wow, it like fit." It was like really really cool to see how it fit into everything.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, that was really cool that again, that thank you for allowing me to put that song in there. It really did tie the whole film together. So I'm really glad that you were able to do that. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah.
I want to talk about like, 'cause I mentioned before about like these different creative outlets that we have as artists, and I know I've seen you, you know, obviously you have your acting on film and on stage, but I've also seen you on Twitch, because I remember you
Yeah.
were you were also a streamer, and
Yeah.
you're also a fellow podcaster with your own podcast, Sarah and Spencer's House, which again, I've seen that, and I enjoyed both of them, you know, the streaming and the podcast. They're both really
Thanks.
well. What kind of got you into, well, let's first focus on the Twitch streaming. Like what kind of got you into wanting to do that in the first place?
That is something I started during COVID when everything was locked down. It felt like that was something. It was a way to connect with other people and interact with people while also playing video games, which is something I really enjoy. I don't remember how I found Twitch. I just remember being on it all of a sudden. But that was a really fun time just to like play video games, hang out with friends. I think that's how it really started, and then it's been kind of on and off since. But I'm back on it again, which is nice.
Yeah, I saw you did like a stream like not too long ago, so I was tuning in and watching it. But yeah,
Oh, thanks.
it's really cool that you're doing that. Um, but what about your podcast that you've been doing, Sarah and Spencer's House? I've seen like you have like what is it, like over like 30 episodes or something like that you have?
Yeah, we've just crossed the milestone of doing it for a year, which is crazy. It's me and my friend Spencer, who we went to college together, and we studied acting together. And we've been roommates since college, and until I moved here. And we previously had a different podcast that was about being an actor outside of college. Once you graduate, what are you supposed to do? And how is life after you graduate? Because it's harder than anyone told us. And so we did that, and that kind of faded because of COVID as well. But we were just missing hanging out with each other regularly, and so we kind of use that podcast as an excuse to meet up every week and catch up and just chat, which is fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool that you're just able to. I mean, that's just the great thing with technology, you know. I mean, you we live like you could be miles and miles away, but you're still able to connect, you know. But yeah, that's really cool. And just like with me doing this podcast, you know, like I'm interviewing you all the way from London, you know, and I've interviewed people from like Australia. I interviewed someone from Iran, and then other people from like the different states. So it's just really cool, just like the way technology has advanced over the years. And I've had this conversation before with other people, but we talked about like AI and like
Mm.
the whole like kind of ups and downs with that.
Hmm.
It's just kind of a crazy thing. But have you experimented with that?
I used to use it. For a time I was doing a software like coding boot camp where I was trying to learn how to code and I was using ChatGPT to kind of teach me how to code. But then I realized there was a moment where ChatGPT like broke down and I couldn't use it for my course and I realized I was like, "Oh, I actually don't know as much as I thought I did now that I have to rely on myself." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I should rely on that a little bit less." But I feel like with art, it's like really scary to see. I think for me, it's like putting more value in the work that people are doing, and that's kind of how I'm trying to look at it. Is like people's work is so much more valuable than what AI is producing and what people are using it for when they're taking advantage of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a weird time.
Yeah, yeah, the world is changing for sure, definitely.
Yeah,
But yeah, but like I said, as long as we just continue to be ourselves, be
yeah,
creative, then we'll get through this.
definitely.
Um, let's go back to like the podcast. Is there like any like advice or like tips that you want to give for people that are curious about wanting to start a podcast?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm on like my second round, so I feel like I definitely took what I learned from my first time and try to apply it in the second time. I think like for me, the most important part is having fun and having like knowing what your reason is of why you're doing the podcast. But then like on the practical side, you can start it like just start doing it. Like you can use your phone and record it. I think that's how Spencer and I started in our first podcast. We were just using our phone, and like using GarageBand to edit the audio. As long as you can be heard. And then if you want to add the video element, which is now more popular as well, you could do that as well. Um, but there are ways to do it as free as possible until you start building up enough or you have enough financial ability to start afford to pay for subscriptions for things and hosting and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's really just starting and then doing what you can to improve in little bits.
Mhm. Like for me, like I remember starting out, it's like do I want to just talk about film or like and then I remember just kind of thinking like, well, I mean there's like a whole plethora of other arts out there from writers, painters, poets, so I figured I could like expand the horizon and talk about just artists in general. So that's kind of how it started for me, talking about just artists and because I do want to hear like the stories about them and like the ups and downs that they've had in their careers. So it started doing that, and then what I did for me was I'm using like the software Riverside to record these conversations, so doing that, and then I have like Calendly to schedule like the different artists from around the world, like sending them my schedule and like days that they can pick, and then I'm using Spotify for creators to kind of branch out, to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff. So that's just kind of my 2 cents of how I started up a podcast. So yeah, for anyone listening, if you want to just do a podcast, just do it. If we have access to so much technology and you don't need that much to start it up. So yeah, so if you want to do it, go for it.
Yeah, I've got another tip too for if you're wanting to put marketing for like social media and stuff. We use something called Buffer. It's like buffer.com where it allows you to post clips of things and it'll post it up to, I believe, 3 channels for free. And you can do up to 10 posts per channel per week for free. And you can schedule those so you're not constantly on social media trying to upload and edit things. So you can just kind of put it there and it'll release it automatically for free, which I highly recommend.
Hmm. I didn't know about that. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
might,
definitely.
I might look into that. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's a good time saver.
Mhm. I did want to ask, also, like, did you have any projects in the works or just like how people can like follow you, if people listening in?
Yes. Let's see. My current one is just the Spencer and Sarah's House podcast. I'm just submitting to different auditions for the time being. And then I'm working on writing my own play, which will take a while. I did my first one-person show in April, which was a really good experience of doing everything. And now I just want to write a full play, which will take some time, but it'll be good.
Oh, that's really cool. Could you maybe talk about the play a little bit, or is it like kind of like, are you not allowed to talk about it, or if you want to?
No, it's not. I haven't even started writing it. It's more of like cooking in my brain at the moment. But I started with the one-person show I did. I'd been working on for 3 years, I think. So it was my first experience putting on a show in London, kind of finding the venue, getting a director to help me, and like writing it, designing it, performing in it, and all that stuff, which was really, really cool.
What was that one play about? I'm just curious.
Yes. So it was a murder mystery musical comedy about the journey towards celebrating being queer. So it was this idea of how do I describe this? Basically, straight Sam has died, and Detective Sam and Queer Sam are working together to figure out who killed straight Sam.
Nice.
Yeah.
As we are starting to wrap up, do you want to talk about like any advice or tips that for artists out there that are listening in, any advice that you want to give?
I think my advice would be just to keep doing it. I think like recently I've been kind of coming back into embracing my need to be creative in whatever way that looks. Because I think for a long time I felt like I needed to kind of like settle and be stable and all these things, but I can like feel a part of me being like, no, I need to like create and let that out. It doesn't feel right to not be doing that. So I think my advice is just to, if you feel that pull, do something with it. And then also, like if you have a project in mind, just get started with it and you'll work out all of the what ifs and the bumps along the way as they come, as opposed to worrying about them and letting that paralyze you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Troubled Artists podcast. Have a great day.